9-foot alien mommy took him from the battlefield and cared like no one else could. The acrid smell of plasma discharge filled the air as Logan Magner ducked behind a partially destroyed wall, his stealth suit's active camouflage flickering from the damage it had sustained. The battlefield around him was chaos incarnate, the remnants of what had once been the prosperous colony of New Haven on Epsilon 9. "Status report," he barked into his comm unit, only to receive static in response. The neural dampeners the enemy was using had effectively cut off all long-range communications. He was alone deep behind enemy lines with only his training and determination to rely on. Through the smoke and debris, he could make out the massive silhouettes of the Kraxan war machines, 12-foot-tall mechanical monstrosities that had appeared from nowhere 3 days ago. Their attack had been swift and merciless, leaving the Colonial Defense Forces scrambling to mount any kind of effective resistance. Logan checked his plasma rifle's charge. 23% remaining. Not great, but it would have to do. He had a mission to complete, reach the colony's central data core, and initiate a complete purge before the Kraxan could access Earth's defense protocols. A thunderous explosion rocked the ground, sending debris raining down around him. Logan rolled to his right, barely avoiding a chunk of duracrete that would have crushed him. His enhanced reflexes, courtesy of military-grade bio-augmentations, were the only thing keeping him alive. "Come on, you mechanical bastards," he muttered, activating his tactical visor. The heads-up display flickered to life, highlighting 3 Kraxan units advancing on his position. Their heavy footsteps echoed through the ruins, each impact sending tremors through the ground. Logan took a deep breath, steadying his nerves. He'd faced worse odds during the Centauri campaign. Well, maybe not worse, but definitely comparable. With practiced precision, he pulled 2 plasma grenades from his belt, primed them, and waited. The first Kraxan walker stepped into view, its sensor array scanning the area. Logan couldn't help but admire the deadly elegance of its design. All smooth curves and gleaming alloy, built for one purpose: extinction-level warfare. He threw both grenades in quick succession, one at the lead walker's legs, the other at its sensor array. The resulting explosion was magnificent, sending the massive machine crashing into its companion. But Logan was already moving, sprinting through the smoke with his rifle raised. The third walker emerged through the chaos, its weapon ports glowing with deadly energy. Logan dove forward, sliding beneath its massive legs while emptying his rifle into its undercarriage. The walker's armor held, but the distraction was enough for him to reach the relative safety of a nearby building. That's when everything went wrong. A fourth walker, previously undetected, burst through the building's wall behind him. Logan spun around, but he was too slow. The last thing he saw was a massive mechanical arm swinging toward him, then darkness. When consciousness returned, his first sensation was softness and warmth. Lots of warmth. His face was pressed against something incredibly soft and smooth, with a slight give to it. It took his addled brain several seconds to process that he was being held against what felt like... "Oh shit," he mumbled, his voice muffled by his current position. He was indeed buried face first in what could only be described as the most generous cleavage he'd ever encountered. The violet-hued skin surrounding him belonged to what his tactical training immediately identified as a Valkyrian, one of the notorious warrior women from the neutral systems. Before he could process this development, his brain decided that this was all a bit too much and kindly shut down again. The second time he awoke, he found himself in what appeared to be a cozy dwelling, lying on something that felt like a cross between a bed and a nest. The air was warm and carried a sweet, unfamiliar scent. And there she was, all 9 feet of her, moving around the room with surprising grace for someone of her size. "You're finally awake, little warrior," she said, her voice carrying an exotic accent that somehow managed to be both commanding and gentle. "I am Nyara, and you, my unexpected guest, have caused quite a stir." Logan waited until Nyara's breathing settled into a steady rhythm before making his move. The massive Valkyrian had dozed off in a chair near his bed, her statuesque form bathed in the soft purple light filtering through the dwelling's crystalline windows. His military training kicked in as he silently slipped from the impossibly comfortable bed. Each movement was calculated, precise, until his foot caught on something soft and yielding. He froze, heart pounding, but Nyara merely shifted in her sleep, mumbling something in her native tongue. The exit was just 15 feet away. 15 feet between him and his duty to report back to command. 15 feet that felt like 15 miles as he crept forward. His stealth suit still partially functional despite the damage it had sustained. He was halfway to the door when her voice cut through the silence like warm honey. "And where do you think you're going, little warrior?" Logan spun around to find Niara's luminescent eyes fixed on him, a mixture of amusement and something else dancing in their depths. She unfolded herself from the chair with fluid grace that seemed impossible for someone her size. "I have a mission to complete," he said, dropping into a defensive stance. "I appreciate the medical attention, but I need to go." Niara's lips curved into a smile that made his pulse quicken. "You humans are always so, dedicated, but you're not going anywhere until you're properly healed." She took a step toward him, and Logan found himself backing away despite his training. "I can't stay. My people need to know about the Kraxan attack." He reached for the door panel, only to have his wrist caught in her gentle but impossibly strong grip. "The Kraxan are gone," she said, pulling him closer with inexorable force. "They retreated after encountering our warrior bands. Your colony is safe, though evacuated. There's nothing out there for you right now except more injuries." Logan tried to twist free, employing every close combat technique in his considerable arsenal. Somehow he ended up pressed against her, his back to her front, her arms wrapped around him in what felt less like a restraining hold and more like an embrace. "You're strong for a human," she purred, her breath tickling his ear. "But you're still healing. And She turned him around to face her. "I'm not finished taking care of you." Their eyes met, and Logan felt something electric pass between them. Her violet skin seemed to glow from within. In this close, he could see the subtle patterns that swirled beneath its surface. Her scent, something wild and sweet, like storm clouds and honey, filled his senses. "Why?" he managed to ask. "Why are you doing this?" Niara's hand came up to trace the line of his jaw, her touch sending shivers down his spine. "Because you fascinate me, little warrior. Your kind always charges into battle against impossible odds, yet you never break. You're so small compared to us, but your spirits are giants." "I'm not that little," Logan protested, though standing next to her 9-foot frame made him feel exactly that. She laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a summer breeze. "No, I suppose you're not. For a human, you're quite impressive." Her eyes traveled down his body in a way that made his temperature rise several degrees. "This is inappropriate," he said, but made no move to pull away. "I'm a soldier, and you're—" "I'm what?" she challenged, drawing him even closer. "A neutral party? A Valkyrian warrior who saved your life? A woman who finds herself increasingly attracted to a brave, foolish human who tried to take on 4 Kraxan walkers by himself?" Logan swallowed hard. The tactical part of his brain was screaming at him to maintain his military bearing, to remember his training. But another part, a part that was growing stronger by the second, was acutely aware of how her body felt against his, how her star-bright eyes seemed to see right through him. He started, but she pressed a finger to his lips. "Shh," she whispered. "Stop thinking like a soldier for a moment. Feel instead." And then she kissed him, and all thoughts of escape evaporated like morning dew under a double sunrise. Her lips were soft, impossibly soft, and tasted like exotic spices he couldn't name. His hands found their way to her waist of their own accord, and he felt her smile against his mouth. When they finally parted, both breathing heavily, Logan knew he wasn't going anywhere, not tonight. Maybe not for a while. "Still want to escape?" Niara asked, running her fingers through his hair. "I think," he said, pulling her down for another kiss. "My mission parameters just changed." The twin suns of Epsilon 9 were just beginning to peek through the crystalline windows when Logan stirred from the most peaceful sleep he'd experienced in years. The events of the previous night felt almost dreamlike, but the warmth of Niara's body next to him confirmed their reality. He watched her sleeping form, marveling at how someone so powerful could appear so gentle in repose. Her violet skin seemed to shimmer with an inner light, and her purple hair cascaded around them like a living curtain. Even in sleep, she maintained a protective posture around him, one arm draped possessively across his chest. The peaceful moment was shattered by the sound of approaching footsteps, heavy, rhythmic steps that could only belong to other Valkyrians. Niara's eyes snapped open instantly, her warrior's instincts taking over. "They're early," she muttered, quickly rising and pulling on her ceremonial armor. The morning patrol wasn't supposed to arrive until midday. Logan reached for his damaged stealth suit, but Nyara stopped him with a gentle hand. "No need to hide, little warrior. They already know you're here. The question is how we handle this situation." Before he could respond, a commanding voice rang out from outside. "Warrior Nyara, your presence is required for the morning council, and bring your guest." Nyara's expression hardened into what Logan recognized as her public face, the fierce warrior rather than the tender caregiver he'd come to know. "Stay close to me," she instructed, her voice carrying an edge of protectiveness that made his heart race. "The others won't harm you, but they might test boundaries." The door swung open to reveal 3 Valkyrian warriors, each as imposingly tall as Nyara, but with varying skin tones ranging from deep blue to pale lavender. Their leader, a stern-faced warrior with silvery hair, fixed Logan with an appraising stare. "So," she said, her voice dripping with barely concealed interest, "this is the human who took on 4 Kraxan walkers single-handedly. Impressive for such a small creature." Logan straightened his spine, meeting her gaze directly. "Captain Logan Magner, Earth Defense Force, and I prefer compact to small." A ripple of surprised laughter passed through the warriors. The leader's eyes sparkled with amusement and something else. Something that made Nyara step slightly in front of Logan. "I am Warrior Commander Lyra," the silver-haired Valkyrian announced, "and you, Captain Magner, have caused quite a stir in our settlement. It's not often we encounter a male warrior of your caliber." "He is under my protection," Nyara stated firmly, her tone leaving no room for argument. "By right of combat, salvation, and personal claim." Lyra's eyebrows rose. "Personal claim? Already? My Nyara, you've always been decisive, but this is quick even for you." Her gaze shifted back to Logan. "Though I can certainly see the appeal." The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a plasma blade. Logan could feel the weight of multiple gazes on him, each carrying different degrees of interest and speculation. He'd faced down entire enemy squadrons with less pressure than this. "The Council wishes to speak with both of you," Lyra continued. "There are concerns about having a human warrior in our midst, particularly one with your combat record, Captain." "I'm not a threat to your people," Logan assured her, though he noticed none of the Valkyrians seemed particularly worried about that aspect. "Oh, we're not concerned about threats," one of the other warriors chuckled. "Quite the opposite, actually. We're more interested in your potential contributions to our society." And Nyara's posture stiffened. "I have already stated my claim. Our laws are clear on this matter." "Laws can be interpreted," Lyra suggested smoothly, "especially when dealing with such a unique specimen. The Council might be interested in sharing arrangements." Logan felt Nyara's hand tighten on his shoulder. "There will be no sharing," she declared, her voice carrying a dangerous edge. "He is mine to protect, to care for, and to..." She paused, glancing at him with an expression that made his breath catch. "Musari, to love, if he so chooses." The word love hung in the air like a charged particle, making the atmosphere even more electric. Logan found himself reaching for Nyara's hand, intertwining his fingers with hers in a gesture that spoke volumes. Lyra observed this interaction with keen interest. "Well, this is unexpected. A genuine emotional attachment? How fascinating." She gestured toward the door. "The Council will definitely want to discuss this development. Shall we?" As they followed the patrol outside, Logan couldn't help but notice the way the other Valkyrians watched him, a mixture of curiosity, desire, and something almost predatory. Nyara kept him close, her protective instincts clearly on high alert. "Stay near me," she whispered as they approached the council chambers. "And remember, no matter what they say or offer, you are not obligated to accept anything." Logan squeezed her hand reassuringly. "I know where I want to be," he replied softly, causing a smile to break through her warrior's mask. The Valkyrian council chamber was an impressive sight. A vast circular arena carved from living crystal, its walls pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. Logan stood beside Nyara before the assembled council members, their towering forms arranged in tiered seating that reached toward the dome ceiling. The council elder, a majestic Valkyrian with silver-streaked indigo skin, had just finished reviewing Nyara's claim when another warrior stepped forward. Logan recognized her as Mira, one of the settlement's most decorated battle champions. "I challenge the claim," Mira announced, her voice resonating through the chamber. "By ancient right and combat law, I demand the opportunity to prove myself the more worthy protector of this human warrior." A murmur rippled through the assembled Valkyrians. Nyara's grip on Logan's shoulder tightened imperceptibly. "You dare?" she hissed, her star-bright eyes narrowing. "I dare," Mira replied, a predatory smile playing across her features. "Oh, unless you fear testing your claim in traditional combat." The council elder raised her hand for silence. "The challenge is valid under our laws. Warrior Nyara, do you accept?" Logan felt his heart racing. He'd seen Valkyrian ritual combat during diplomatic exchanges. It was brutal, sometimes fatal. "Nyara," he whispered, "you don't have to." "I accept," Nyara declared, cutting him off. She turned to face him, her expression softening. "Trust in me, little warrior. I found you first. I healed you. She paused, touching his face gently. "I chose you. Now I'll prove why I deserve to keep you." The council elder nodded solemnly. "The challenge will commence at sunset. Until then, the human remains under neutral protection." She gestured to a pair of guards. "Escort Captain Magner to the observation chamber." "No," Nyara interrupted. "I request time with my claimed one before combat. It is my right." After a moment's consideration, the elder nodded. "You have until the moon's rise. Then he must be sequestered until the challenge is resolved." As they walked back to Nyara's dwelling, Logan couldn't contain his concern. "This is insane. I should have a say in—" "You do," Nyara assured him, pulling him inside and closing the door. "Your presence here, your acceptance of my care, your—" She smiled wickedly. "Enthusiastic participation last night, they all speak volumes. But our ways require physical proof of worthiness, especially for a prize as valuable as you." "Prize?" Logan raised an eyebrow. "I'm not some trophy to be won." Nyara laughed, the sound making his pulse quicken. "Oh, my fierce little human. You still don't understand your true worth, do you?" She pulled him close, her massive form enveloping him. "You fought 4 Kraxan walkers single-handedly. You've survived wounds that would kill most warriors. Your spirit burns brighter than our twin suns." Her voice dropped to a husky whisper. "And the way you love, it's unlike anything in our experience." Logan felt heat rise to his face. "About last night." "Last night was just the beginning," she purred, running her fingers through his hair. "If I win the challenge, there will be many more nights, and days, and whatever moments we can steal in between." The intensity of her gaze made his breath catch. "And if you lose—" "I won't," she stated simply. "Mira is strong, but she fights for possession. I fight for something far more precious." She leaned down, her lips brushing his ear. "I fight for the right to keep caring for you, protecting you, loving you in ways that make even our most ancient warriors blush." Their remaining time together passed in a blur of tender touches and passionate promises. When the guards came to escort Logan to the observation chamber, Nyara's farewell kiss left him dizzy. The challenge arena was a sight to behold. Hundreds of Valkyrians gathered to witness the combat, their massive forms creating a living wall around the circular fighting ground. Logan watched from a protected viewing box as Nyara and Mira entered from opposite sides. Both warriors wore traditional combat armor that left their arms bare, highlighting their impressive musculature. Mira carried a ceremonial staff, while Nyara chose hand-to-hand combat, a bold choice that made the crowd murmur with approval. "Begin!" the elder's voice boomed. What followed was unlike any combat Logan had ever witnessed. The 2 Valkyrians moved with impossible grace and power, their massive forms defying gravity as they clashed. Mira's staff whistled through the air in deadly arcs, but Nyara flowed around the attacks like liquid mercury. "Your claim is weak," Mira taunted between strikes. "You coddle him like a child, instead of using him as a warrior should be used." Nyara's response was a lightning-fast combination that sent Mira staggering. "I protect what's mine, just not," she growled, "and I understand what he truly needs." The battle raged on, neither warrior giving ground. But Logan noticed something in Nyara's movements that the others might have missed. She was fighting with the same tender ferocity she showed when caring for him. Each strike was precise, protective rather than destructive. Finally, after what seemed like hours, Niara saw her opening. As Mira committed to a powerful overhead strike, Niara slipped inside her guard. The movement was too fast to follow, but the result was clear. Mira crashed to the ground. Niara's foot planted firmly on her throat. "Yield!" Niara commanded. Mira struggled for a moment before going limp. "I yield!" she gasped. The arena erupted in cheers as the elder officially confirmed Niara's victory and her claim. But Niara wasn't listening. Her eyes were locked on Logan, and the smile they shared spoke volumes about what would happen once they were alone again. The celebration of Niara's victory was in full swing when Logan's damaged stealth suit suddenly crackled to life. The neural dampeners must have finally failed, allowing Earth Defense Force signals to penetrate the settlement's atmosphere. "Captain Magner, do you copy?" The familiar voice of Admiral Heston cut through the static. "Your life signs have been detected. Status report immediately." Logan froze, his hand instinctively moving to his communicator. Niara, sensing his tension, wrapped her massive arms around him protectively. "What is it, little warrior?" "My commanding officer," he whispered. "They've found me." Before he could respond, another figure burst into their private celebration chamber. Mira, her face etched with urgency despite her recent defeat. "The Kraxen," she gasped. "They're coming back, and this time they're bringing their entire armada." The news hit like a plasma blast. Logan's military training kicked in immediately, analyzing possibilities and threat. But Niara's gentle squeeze brought him back to the present moment. "Your duty calls," she said softly, her star-bright eyes reflecting understanding and something deeper. "As does mine to my people. Captain Magner, acknowledge immediately, or you will be listed as AWOL." Admiral Heston's voice crackled again. Mira stepped forward, her previous antagonism forgotten in the face of greater danger. "The Kraxen fleet will arrive within 3 solar cycles. Our long-range sensors detected them using a new form of stealth technology. If not for my personal interest in monitoring the sector where I first saw you fight, we might have missed them entirely." Logan looked between the 2 Valkyrian warriors, his mind racing. "Admiral," he finally responded, "Captain Magner reporting. Situation complex. Request secure channel for full briefing." "Granted, switching to encryption protocol Delta 9. As Logan shared everything he knew about the Kraxen attack and his subsequent rescue, Niara and Mira exchanged meaningful looks. When he finished, Admiral Heston was silent for a long moment. "Captain, your orders are to return to Earth Command immediately. The Valkyrians' neutrality agreement prevents us from requesting their assistance, and we need every experienced officer for the coming battle." Niara's grip on Logan tightened imperceptibly. He could feel her heart racing against his back, though her face remained impassive. "With respect, Admiral," Logan replied, "I believe I can be more valuable here. The Valkyrians have information about a new Kraxen threat that could endanger the entire sector. Answer." He glanced up at Niara, drawing strength from her presence. "I have formed significant diplomatic connections that could prove crucial." "Diplomatic connections?" Admiral Heston's voice carried a knowing tone. "The kind that led to you being claimed in a ritual combat ceremony broadcast across 3 star systems?" Logan felt heat rise to his face. "You saw that?" "The entire Earth Defense Council saw it, Captain. It's caused quite a stir. Some are calling it the diplomatic breakthrough we've been waiting for. Others..." The Admiral paused. "Others are concerned about divided loyalties." Mira stepped forward. "If I may, Earth Admiral, I witnessed firsthand the strength of your warrior's character. His loyalty to his people remains unquestioned, even as he has earned a place among ours. And now we face a common enemy." "The neutrality agreement," Admiral Heston began, "was with Earth," Niara interrupted. "The Kraxen violated our territory first by attacking a human colony under our protection. We are free to respond as we see fit." She turned Logan to face her. "And I will not be separated from my claimed one when battle approaches." The passion in her voice made Logan's breath catch. Even Mira looked impressed. "Very well," Admiral Heston finally replied. "Captain Magner, you are hereby appointed as official liaison to the Valkyrian forces. Coordinate our defensive strategies and keep us informed. Heston, out." As the communication ended, Niara pulled Logan into a kiss that made his toes curl. When they finally parted, Mira was politely examining the ceiling. "The Council will need to be informed," she said, "and we'll need to prepare our warriors. The Kraxan won't expect to face Earth and Valkyrian forces fighting as one. They also won't expect this, Niara added, her eyes gleaming. A human who understands both our ways of war, who can help us combine our strengths. She caressed Logan's face. My clever little warrior, always finding ways to exceed expectations. That night, as they lay together in their dwelling, planning strategies between tender moments, Logan realized something profound. His duty to Earth and his love for Niara weren't in conflict. They were complementary, like the twin suns that lit their world. What are you thinking about? Niara asked, trailing her fingers along his spine. How sometimes the universe has a strange way of giving you exactly what you need, he replied, pressing closer to her warmth. Even if it takes a Kraxan attack and a 9-foot-tall warrior woman to figure it out. Her laughter rumbled through her chest. Sleep now, my brave one. Tomorrow we begin preparing for war, and I intend to keep you very well protected indeed. The Valkyrian war room hummed with activity as Logan studied the holographic display of the approaching Kraxan fleet. His newly repaired stealth suit interfaced seamlessly with the alien technology, thanks to Niara's engineering team's modifications. She stood behind him, her massive form providing both comfort and protection as they analyzed the data. There's something odd about their energy signatures, Logan muttered, manipulating the display with practiced ease. They're using some kind of resonance frequency I've never seen before. Mira, who had become an unexpected ally, leaned forward from her position across the table. Our sensors detected similar anomalies during their first attack. The frequency seems to interfere with both our shield systems and your human targeting arrays. Wait! Logan zoomed in on a particular reading. Niara, remember when you found me? Your bioresonance field didn't just heal me, it completely negated the neural dampeners the Kraxan were using. Niara's eyes widened with understanding. And your human technology, when integrated with our systems, creates a unique harmonic pattern. She wrapped her arms around Logan, lifting him effortlessly to eye level. My clever little warrior, always seeing connections others miss. If you two are quite finished with your public displays of affection, Mira interjected, though her tone carried more amusement than irritation, perhaps we could focus on how to use this discovery. Logan, still held comfortably in Niara's arms, gestured to the display. The Kraxan's new stealth technology relies on phase-shifted energy fields, but the combination of human tech and Valkyrian bioresonance creates a counter-frequency that could not only detect them, but potentially disrupt their entire system. The only problem, Niara added, setting Logan down with gentle care, is that generating such a field would require perfect synchronization between human and Valkyrian energy signatures, the kind that only comes from… She paused, a slight purple blush coloring her cheeks. Intimate connection, Mira finished, raising an eyebrow. Well, you two certainly have that covered. Logan cleared his throat, trying to maintain professional composure, despite the knowing looks from the assembled warriors. We'll need to modify my stealth suit to amplify the resonance field, and Niara's biosystems will need to be perfectly attuned to mine. That won't be a problem, Niara purred, her fingers trailing along his shoulder in a way that made his pulse quicken. We can begin the attunement process immediately, in private. Several hours later, after what could only be described as an intense calibration session, Logan and Niara lay entwined in their dwelling, their combined energy signatures creating visible patterns in the air around them. The readings are off the charts, Logan murmured, checking his suit's diagnostic display. Our resonance patterns are perfectly aligned. Of course they are, Niara replied, pulling him closer. We were made for each other, little warrior. The universe just needed to remind us. Her massive form curled protectively around him, as it had since the day she found him on the battlefield. A sudden alert from the war room interrupted their peaceful moment. Mira's voice came through the comm system. You need to see this. The test results are beyond anything we expected. In the war room, the holographic display showed something remarkable. The combined resonance field from Logan and Niara's connection had created a cascading effect throughout the entire defense network. Every human Valkyrian pair working together was generating similar harmonics, creating a web of energy that could potentially blanket the entire sector. It's not just about the technology, Logan realized, studying the patterns. It's about the connection itself. The Kraxan built their systems assuming our species would never work together this closely. They never accounted for… Love, Niara finished, her star-bright eyes shining with emotion. They never accounted for love. Mira rolled her eyes but couldn't hide her smile. Save the romance for after we save the sector. We need to prepare every compatible pair for battle, and you two need to lead the charge since your resonance field is the strongest we've ever recorded. As they began planning the defense strategy, Logan felt Nyara's protective presence behind him, steady and sure. He remembered how she had cared for him when he was wounded, how she had claimed him against all challengers, how she continued to nurture and protect him, even as they prepared for war. You're thinking too hard again, Nyara whispered, massaging his shoulders with her powerful hands. Let me take care of that. We're in the middle of battle preparations, he protested weakly, even as he leaned into her touch. And I'm preparing my warrior, she replied. You fight better when you're properly relaxed and cared for. Now let me do my job. As Nyara's expert hands worked out the tension in his muscles, Logan couldn't help but smile. The Kraxan might have superior numbers and advanced technology, but they were about to learn a crucial lesson about humanity. Never underestimate the power of finding exactly where you belong. The first full-scale test of the combined resonance field was scheduled for dawn. Logan stood on the observation platform, his modified stealth suit humming with energy as Nyara's massive form pressed protectively against his back. Around them, other human Valkyrian pairs had taken similar positions, their combined biosignatures creating a visible aurora in the pre-dawn sky. Remember, Logan addressed the assembled pairs through the comm system, the key is maintaining harmony between your energy signatures. Don't force it. Let it flow naturally through your connection. Like this, Nyara whispered, wrapping her arms around him. The contact sent immediate ripples through their shared field, causing the nearby monitoring equipment to chirp excitedly. Exactly like that, he replied, trying to maintain his professional demeanor despite the pleasant shivers running down his spine. Though maybe with less public displays of affection during actual combat, Mira, monitoring the readings from the control center, cleared her throat. All pairs in position, beginning primary resonance test in 3, 2, 1. The moment all pairs activated their field simultaneously, something unexpected happened. Instead of creating a simple defensive barrier, the combined energies began to interweave in complex patterns. Logan felt a sudden rush of sensation, not just his own feelings, but echoes of Nyara's consciousness bleeding through their connection. By the ancient stars, Nyara gasped, her grip tightening around him. I can feel your thoughts, little warrior. Your memories. Similar exclamations of surprise echoed across the platform as other pairs experienced the same phenomenon. The resonance field wasn't just combining their energy signatures, it was creating a kind of psychic bond between partners. This is intense, Logan managed, overwhelmed by the flood of alien emotions and memories coursing through his mind. He saw himself through Nyara's eyes. The moment she found him on the battlefield, her immediate protective instinct, the growing fascination that had blossomed into something deeper. Focus on me, Nyara murmured, her voice anchoring him in the present. Let everything else fade into the background. Feel how our energies naturally align. Following her guidance, Logan relaxed into their connection. The chaos of other pairs' emotions receded, leaving only their shared resonance, a perfect harmony of human adaptability and Valkyrian strength. The readings are unprecedented, Mira reported, her voice tight with excitement. The field strength is triple what we projected, and it's still growing. But more importantly, look at the pattern recognition results. The holographic display showed their combined consciousness mapping potential threats with impossible speed and accuracy. Through their shared awareness, each pair could instantly coordinate responses to any attack, moving with perfect synchronization. It's beautiful, one of the human officers breathed, watching the intricate dance of energy signatures. Like a symphony of light and thought. And potentially dangerous, Logan added, professional instincts kicking in, despite the intoxicating feeling of being mentally entwined with Nyara. We need to establish proper protocols for this level of connection, the psychological implications alone. Always thinking of others' safety, Nyara interrupted, sending a wave of affection through their bond. Even when you're experiencing something revolutionary. Her massive hand cupped his face, turning him to meet her star-bright eyes. This is why I chose you, my protective little warrior. The intensity of her emotions, now directly shared through their connection, made Logan's knees weak. The other pairs were experiencing similar moments of profound intimacy, their combined fields creating a cascade of shared feelings that threatened to overwhelm the monitoring systems. "All right, everyone," Mira called out, her professional tone barely masking her amusement. "Let's take a break before things get too heated. We need to analyze this data and establish proper training protocols." As the pairs began powering down their fields, Logan felt Nyara's consciousness slowly disentangling from his own. The separation left him feeling oddly empty until her physical embrace tightened compensatingly around him. That was... He started searching for words. "Perfect," Nyara finished, lifting him effortlessly into her arms. "Just like everything else about us." She carried him toward their private quarters, ignoring the knowing looks from other warriors. "Now, I believe we need to conduct some additional resonance tests. For science, of course." "Of course," Logan agreed, already feeling their energy signatures beginning to harmonize again. "We need to thoroughly understand these new developments. Multiple trials will be necessary." "My thorough little warrior," Nyara purred, her violet skin glowing with both affection and anticipation. "Always so dedicated to your research." Later, as they lay together in their dwelling, their energy signatures still softly intertwined, Logan reflected on how far they'd come from that first battlefield encounter. What had started as a simple rescue had evolved into something that could change the course of the war, and perhaps the future of human-Valkyrian relations entirely. "You're thinking too much again," Nyara murmured, running her fingers through his hair. "I can feel it even without the resonance field active." "Just appreciating how the universe works," he replied, pressing closer to her warmth. "How something as simple as you finding me wounded on a battlefield could lead to all this." "Simple?" She laughed, the sound rumbling pleasantly through her chest. "Nothing about caring for you has ever been simple, my fierce little human. But it has been perfectly right." The emergency transmission from Earth Command came just as Logan and Nyara were finishing their morning resonance training. Admiral Heston's holographic form materialized in their quarters, his expression grave. "Captain Magner, the Defense Council has concerns about the depth of these Valkyrian bonds," the Admiral began, his eyes darting to where Nyara's massive form protectively enveloped Logan. "Some members believe our personnel are becoming too emotionally compromised." Logan felt Nyara's muscles tense against his back, but her touch remained gentle. Through their lingering resonance connection, he could sense her mixture of indignation and protective instinct. "With respect, Admiral," Logan replied, standing straighter while remaining within Nyara's embrace. "The emotional connection is precisely what makes our strategy effective. The Kraxan built their systems assuming clinical, mechanical warfare. They never accounted for the power of genuine bonds." "That's exactly what worries them," Heston sighed. "They fear our officers are being influenced. The footage of your combat claim ceremony has been analyzed extensively. Some question whether you're still capable of putting Earth's interest first." Nyara's star-bright eyes narrowed. "You question his loyalty because I care for him? Because I protect and nurture him as he deserves?" "Because you've claimed him as your own," Heston corrected. "Our analysts suggest this creates a conflict of interest." Logan felt a surge of frustration through their bond, but Nyara's physical response was to simply pull him closer, her massive form curling around him like living armor. "Admiral," Logan said, drawing strength from their connection. "Remember the Centauri campaign? How many good soldiers did we lose because we couldn't coordinate effectively with our allies? The Valkyrians aren't just allies anymore. They're partners in the truest sense." He turned slightly, meeting Nyara's gaze. "Yes, she claimed me. Yes, she protects and cares for me in ways that might seem strange by Earth standards. But that care, that connection, has made me a better soldier, not a compromised one." As if to demonstrate, they activated their resonance field. The holographic display showed their combined energy signatures creating perfect harmony, a demonstration of power that made even the Admiral's eyes widen. "Impressive," Heston admitted, "but the Council wants proof. They're sending an evaluation team to assess the situation personally." "Let them come here," Nyara declared, her voice carrying that unique mixture of authority and tenderness that Logan had come to love. "Let them see how I've nurtured their warrior into something greater than he was before. How our connection strengthens rather than weakens him." Through their bond, Logan felt her absolute conviction, her pride in their relationship, her fierce protectiveness, and underneath it all, a love so pure it made his breath catch. "The evaluation team arrives tomorrow," Heston announced. "Captain, I suggest you prepare a thorough demonstration of how these arrangements benefit Earth's military objectives." After the transmission ended, Niara spun Logan around to face her, lifting him effortlessly to eye level. "They dare question our bond? Question my care for you?" "They're soldiers," Logan explained, running his fingers along her violet skin soothingly. "They think in terms of protocols and chain of command. This is something entirely new." "Then we will show them," she declared, pressing her forehead to his. "Show them how a properly cared-for warrior fights, how our connection makes both of us stronger." That evening, as they prepared for the evaluation team's arrival, Logan watched Niara moving through their quarters, her massive form graceful despite her size. She was arranging everything to demonstrate how she attended to his every need, from the specially modified combat gear to the healing minerals she added to his bath. "You're nesting again," he observed, amused. "I'm preparing to defend my claim to those who would question it," she corrected, though her star-bright eyes sparkled with affection. "They need to understand that my care for you isn't a weakness. It's our greatest strength." Through their resonance bond, he felt her determination to prove their relationship's worth, mixed with an underlying current of possessive pride. The intensity of her emotions made him dizzy in the best possible way. "Come here," she commanded softly, extending her arms. When he stepped into her embrace, she lifted him with practiced ease, cradling him against her chest. "Let me remind you why their doubts mean nothing." Later, as they lay entwined, their energy signatures humming in perfect harmony, Logan realized something important. "You know what they really fear?" he mused, tracing patterns on her violet skin. "Not that I'm compromised, but that I've found something they don't understand. Something that challenges their entire worldview." "And what's that, my clever little warrior?" Niara asked, running her fingers through his hair. "That sometimes the strongest soldier isn't the one who stands alone, but the one who knows exactly where he belongs, who he belongs to." Her pleased rumble vibrated through her chest. "And where do you belong?" "Right here," he replied, pressing closer to her warmth. "Being protected, cared for, and made stronger by it. Let them come tomorrow. We'll show them what real power looks like." The Earth Defense Force evaluation team's shuttle was just entering Epsilon 9's atmosphere when the alert sirens began wailing. Logan and Niara were in the midst of their morning preparation ritual, her massive hands expertly adjusting his combat gear while stealing tender touches, when Mira's voice crackled through the comm system. "Multiple cracks and probe signatures detected. They're testing our defenses." Through their resonance bond, Logan felt Niara's protective instinct surge. Her star-bright eyes met his, a silent understanding passing between them. "Perfect timing," she purred, lifting him into her arms. "Let's show them what a properly cared-for warrior can do." The council elder intercepted them as they rushed to the defense station. "This attack comes at an auspicious time," she declared, her ancient eyes twinkling. "The stars align for the ritual of eternal claiming." "Now?" Niara asked, her violet skin glowing with sudden excitement. "During battle? What better time to prove the strength of your bond?" The elder smiled. "Our most sacred traditions speak of warriors who join souls in the heat of combat, their connection blessed by the ancient stars themselves." Logan felt Niara's emotions surge through their bond. Hope, love, and fierce determination all mixed together. "What does this ritual entail?" he asked, even as proximity alarms warned of approaching cracks and forces. "You fight as one," the elder explained quickly. "If your resonance field maintains perfect harmony through battle, the claiming becomes eternal, recognized by all species, all governments, all worlds." The Earth Defense Shuttle was making an emergency landing as the first cracks and probes breached the outer defense perimeter. Admiral Heston and the evaluation team emerged to find Logan and Niara already moving into combat position, their energy signatures beginning to merge. "Captain Magner!" Heston called out. "What's the situation?" "Preparing to demonstrate the effectiveness of human-Valkyrian bonding, sir," Logan replied, feeling Niara's massive form pressed protectively against his back. "With your permission, we'd like to make history." The Kraxon probes attacked in a perfect mechanical synchronization, a dozen sleek, deadly machines designed to test defensive capabilities. But they hadn't counted on what they found. Logan and Nyara moved as one being, their resonance field expanding to create a shield of pure energy. Through their bond, he could feel her fierce joy in battle matched with her tender protectiveness, while she drew on his tactical brilliance and adaptability. "The ritual begins," the Elder announced, her voice carrying over the battle. "Let all witness the power of true claiming." Their combined consciousness tracked every probe's movement, anticipating attacks before they came. Nyara's massive form danced through combat with impossible grace, while Logan's modified stealth suit amplified their shared power. The evaluation team watched in awe as the pair's resonance field began to glow, with colors never before seen in human or Valkyrian energy signatures. Their perfect harmony didn't just defeat the probes, it transformed them, the machines falling to pieces as their core programming failed against something they couldn't compute: love. "By the ancient stars," the Elder breathed, "the claiming bond grows stronger than any in our recorded history." Through their connection, Logan felt something shifting, deepening. Nyara's consciousness became even more entwined with his own, their separate identities merging while somehow remaining distinct. It was like finding a piece of himself he never knew was missing. The last probe exploded in a spectacular display of light, and in that moment, their resonance field erupted with power. The ritual's energy surrounded them, and Logan felt Nyara's claim on him become something eternal and unbreakable. "Well," Admiral Heston said into the stunned silence that followed, "I believe that answers our concerns about effectiveness in combat." The Elder stepped forward, her ancient eyes glowing. "The ritual is complete. Their claiming is now recognized by the laws of all spacefaring species. Not even Earth Command can dispute a bond blessed by the ancient stars themselves." Nyara lifted Logan to eye level, her star-bright eyes shimmering with emotion. "Mine," she whispered. "Forever and always, my precious little warrior." "Forever," he agreed, feeling their shared joy echo through their permanent bond. The evaluation team's official report would later describe the event as a revolutionary advancement in interspecies military cooperation. But those who witnessed it remembered something far more profound. The moment love itself became a weapon against which no enemy could stand. Months later, when the main Kraxon fleet finally arrived, they found something their mechanical minds couldn't process. An entire defense force of claimed pairs, each glowing with the power of perfectly matched souls, led by the legendary pair whose love had changed the face of warfare forever. Logan and Nyara's dwelling became a symbol of their unique union. Part military command center, part cozy love nest. She continued to care for him with the same tender ferocity that had first drawn them together, while he showed the universe that true strength comes in accepting such care. "You know," Logan mused one evening, safely tucked against Nyara's massive form, "when you found me on that battlefield, I never imagined it would lead to all this." "Really?" she teased, running her fingers through his hair. "The moment I held your broken body against my heart, I knew you were mine to protect, to care for, to love." The universe simply took its time, catching up to what I already knew. Their resonance field hummed contentedly around them, a permanent testament to the truth that sometimes the greatest warriors aren't those who stand alone, but those who know exactly where and to whom they belong.